Two star-studded teams led by Jana Hefford and Eric Lindros facing off in the annual Hockey Hall of Fame Legends Classic in early November, part of Hall of Fame weekend. You can see some of the names here: Mike Gartner, Pierre Turgeon, Natalie Darwitz. I can go on and on. Look, they're Hall of Famers, and if not, maybe future Hall of Famers, and it's always a great annual event up there in Toronto. One of the goaltenders for that event, our good buddy here at the NHL Network and Buffalo Sabres commentator, Marty Biron, joining us now on NHL Tonight. There he is. Great to see you, my friend. The question is, have you started stretching yet for that game in November?
So I fished those out of my storage unit just yesterday just to make a nice background, and then I realized, look, these pads on my right, they're from my 2008-2009 season in Philly, and they're so old, and they don't even compare to what players and goalies are wearing right now. Might as well give me Bernie Perrant's equipment from 1975, right? Like, that's what it is. So I may have to make a trip down to the equipment room in Buffalo or ask my son, hey, do you have an extra set of gear I can borrow? Because that's really... Like, it's all about the gear. I got to look good because it's not going to move really well. I got to look good.
You got to look good when you're stationary, Marty. Exactly. Listen, goaltenders, Marty, you know this, that it's not always an easy get to get a goalie to play in these games because it's a couple of years removed from retirement. It's got to be an offensive kind of game. So are you looking forward to it, or are you just looking forward to the weekend and the game is sort of secondary?
This is going to be my third time doing the game and probably the first one in 5 or 6 years. And I remember my first time, it was Rick Vive and Daryl Sittler and Lanny McDonald. And it was easy. It was fun. And then my second time, it was Brad Richards and Danny Briere. And I'm like, oh, I don't belong here. So they called me back. And I think they want the high scoring, right? They want to make sure there's a ton of goals. The fans are excited to see Hall of Famers. So I think that's why I'm coming back.
Oh, the right man for the job. We saw some of the names on that list. As a goaltender, the one that would jump off the page for me, Al Iafrate. You think he could still bring it?
He can shoot the puck. I remember John Leclerc came down in warm-up one time, and he put a slap shot and hit me right in the chest. I was like, oh, that one hurt. It kind of left a little mark. So Al Iafrate can shoot the puck. Pierre Turgeon, the most competitive player I think I've ever played in an alumni game is, well, Peter Stastny and Pierre Turgeon. So if he's on my team, like, he doesn't want to lose. But then you got Zach Parise and Ryan Getzlaf. These guys are just recently retired. Like, come on. Like, I've got no chance. And that's what I said to Razor. Andrew Raycroft's the other goalie. I said, buddy, we're in for a tough night.
Now, look, if he has to use the old equipment, I'm afraid he should have to use the wooden stick, right?
He can still shoot at 100 with the old stick. That's not a problem.
I know.
Marty, as a shooter, we always remember success or lack of against Hall of Fame kind of goalies. I scored against Dominic Hasek. Had a hard time with Ed Belfour, whatever it might be. Going into this game against some of the recent guys, do you have any memories like Shea Weber? I had a hard time picking up his shot. Or Eric Lindros, I managed to do well against him. Do you have any memories against some of the great players you're going to be playing against from your time in the NHL?
Listen, Shea Weber, I remember going to Nashville, and he just unleashed a couple of one-timers, and I thought, like, I can see it, but I can't react to it. Like, I know it's coming, but I don't know how I'm going to save it if it misses me. So that is one definitely. And I know that there's always, like, Jeremy Roenick, every time we played him, something happened. He was always, the entertainment value of the ticket, right? Every time you played against him, that it was Arizona or San Jose, or, I wasn't around when he was in Chicago, but I watched him. So, yeah, there's definitely names that I love just being in the locker room and get to talk to them for a little bit. So, because it's not too often that you can be around that many Hall of Fame players in a relaxed environment and everybody feels like they're buddy-buddy out there.
Well, we're buddy-buddy with you, and while we have you, we want to ask you about the Buffalo Sabres. What's the vibe in town right now about the upcoming season and where this team is at?
Well, the first thing is Lindy Ruff, right? As soon as the Sabres and Kevin Adams hired Lindy Ruff, there was a nostalgia that came back, but I think people quickly realized Lindy Ruff is still a really good coach. He doesn't just fit the bill with, well, you know what, he went to the Stanley Cup with Dominic Hasek, he went to back-to-back conference finals, with Ryan Miller and Drury and Briere. No, Lindy Ruff has always been a great coach. He evolved a lot over the last few years. He learned from the Scotty Bowman and Roger Nielsen back in the days. So these guys kept evolving. Lindy Ruff has evolved a ton. So that's the positive vibe. And then you look around and you say, okay, the Sabres did some work in free agency and trade, mostly in the bottom six, but it's all about the core, right? The Tage Thompson, the Alex Tuck, the Jack Quinn, the Dylan Cousins, the JJ Peterka, the Rasmus Dahlin, the Owen Power, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. Like, you can add as many pieces as you want, but that's the core that's going to get you to the playoffs and get you more success. The Chicago Blackhawks of the 2010, they had Kane and Taves and Keith and Seabrook. They had the core. The Pittsburgh Penguins have had the core. The Tampa Bay Lightning have had the core. That's the core that the Sabres are hoping they can continue to build on. Last year was not a great year for that core group. 2 years ago was fantastic. Hopefully this year it goes back to normal.
Marty, one last one before I let you go. You mentioned UPL. They re-signed him. Seems like Buffalo's been searching for a goalie for a while now, and one they can trust on. They know is going to be there this year and going forward. Are you confident that UPL is that guy?
I'm confident that he showed in the second half last year what type of goaltender he can be as a number one if you give him the opportunity. Second in the NHL in goal save above expectation from January 1st on. Only second behind Jordan Binnington. You had, Igor Shesterkin in there. You had Bobrovsky in there, but Luukkonen really proved it. Now, I always have doubts when it comes to goalies that have not shown over multiple years what they can do. But the talent is there, the size is there, the work ethic is there. And one thing, Johnny, and you can speak of it, when the players love the goaltender, they love Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. They would throw their bodies in front of shots for him. He's well-liked. That plays a big part in the locker room and on the ice. So they love UPL. They brought in James Reimer. They have Devin Levi. I think the goaltending is where they want it to be now, making strides forward, and Luukkonen is the number one guy for sure.
All right, Marty, always great chatting with you. We'll chat with you with the start of the season quickly approaching, and look forward to seeing you in the Hall of Fame Legends Classic. Over under for a friend.
Help me out. Come and take shots on me during maybe a few sessions. Give me confidence, Jameson.
All right.
Johnny, maybe you can score a couple goals. You scored on me.
I'll give you lots of confidence if I shoot on you, Marty. Don't you worry.
I'll give you some tumbling muffins your way. Marty Biron, always the best. We'll talk to you down the road.